And never forget, this is what happens in LeBron's career when he doesn't win a title. 2010, he left the Cavs for the Heat. 2014, he left the Heat for the Cavs. 2016, he fired David Blatt, the head coach in Cleveland. 2017, he tried to get Kyrie Irving traded. 2018, he left the Cavs for the Lakers. 2019, blew out all the players, and they traded for AD. This, LeBron's favorite movie, is The Godfather. He loves Michael Corleone. You get whacked if you don't get business done. And you can go back to LeBron's career the last decade when he doesn't win a title. Big stuff happens virtually every year. And this past year was a mess. They were favored. AD wasn't in shape. It was a mess. So big stuff's coming. That's why it may be Dame. It may be Bradley Beal. I've said before, I would not be shocked if AD got traded. I would not. I don't think it'll happen, but the dude is not committed as much as LeBron is. I'll tell you, Dame and Bradley Beal are in the weight room all offseason. AD is increasingly hurt. Now, again, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if LeBron doesn't win and it looks ugly and people start bailing on LeBron, big stuff happens. That's why you at least got to keep an eye on Chris Paul. I don't think it would be the best move for Chris, but you got to keep an eye on it a little bit. Joy with the news.
No.
Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
I missed that RoboCam from the bubble. I know you can't have it because you have fans on the sideline, but that was such a cool shot.
It was.
That one that just tracked with everyone as they were going down the court.
I still think it's fascinating. It's one of the things, life is full of change. Like a lot of Americans, as you and I know, struggle with change, not having things go as they think they should go. If you'd have told me, yeah, they're going to play in a bubble, players will never leave, and they'll have virtual fans, and you'd be like, oh, that's going to be the stupidest thing ever. It actually worked on television.
After 1 week of watching games, I was completely used to it. I was like, this is how I've always watched it.
I've said this before. You can say what you want about all these leagues.
Yeah.
The NBA had it hit in the middle of the season. NFL got to sit there for 6 months and watch everybody's mistakes. NBA had it happen middle of the season. 3 months later, they unveiled the bubble. Folks, it's hard to make travel plans for a family and get it right. The whole damn league moved to Orlando.
And media. And staff.
And it worked.
It was amazing. Logistically, like one of the greatest feats I've ever seen.
The greatest feat of all. I mean, UFC bought an island, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, that's two. But UFC is a more controlled environment. You had coaches, teams, cities, players,
trainers,
food, staff.
Yep.
They took over Disney World. It's insane.
It is. All right, so deep breath, everyone. Big news came down yesterday. The NFL has informed each team that the 2021 season will not be extended to accommodate any games that have to be canceled due to a COVID-19 outbreak from unvaccinated players. Unvaccinated. If a team cannot reschedule during the 18-week season, the team will, with the outbreak, will forfeit and be credited with a loss for playoff seeding. Also, players on both teams will not be paid for the game, and the team responsible for the cancellation will cover financial losses and be subject to potential discipline. So a big question yesterday was, well, what happens to the vaccinated players test positive? So a vaccinated player or staff who test positive and are asymptomatic can return after 2 negative tests 24 hours apart.
Yeah.
For non-vaccinated people, it's the same as last year, which is a 10-day isolation period and multiple negative tests. So from the memo that Tom Pelissero posted yesterday, if a club cannot play due to a COVID spike in vaccinated individuals, we will attempt to minimize the competitive and economic burden on both participating teams. So pretty loud and clear.
Get vaccinated.
Get vaccinated from the NFL.
By the way, you get your occasional random players who are tough guys on Twitter. They've all deleted their tweets now, right? But the tough guys. Let me tell you this in America. Let me ask you a question. So you Americans, you 20% of Americans who won't get vaccinated, you say, I have my rights. Yes, you do. But the businesses don't have, Delta Airlines doesn't have rights. NFL doesn't have rights. The NBA, don't leave the bubble, doesn't have rights. Why is everybody on Twitter yelling, what about my freedom? What about my right? Well, what about the employer's rights? Fox. I walked in one day at Fox. We all had to wear masks. I got tested every other day. Fox doesn't have rights. By the way, I had rights. I didn't have to show up to work, but I didn't want to give my audience to my competitors. So Joy and I basically did a show from a closet for 3 months because I'm competing against all these other talk shows and all these other networks, and I didn't want to give up my audience to my competitors. So you're always screaming and yelling about your freedoms and your rights. Well, businesses have rights too. And if I think this thing is surging in America, which it is in certain states, the Delta variant, if it's surging, I'm going to get ahead of this thing and not play catch up, and I'm going to make some new rules. Your choices are now my rules.
Look, these billion-dollar organizations don't care about your feelings.
They don't care.
They don't care. That's always been the case. It will always be the case. If you don't like it, go make billions of dollars and make your own league. It's just as simple as that. What the biggest pushback yesterday was, what happened to freedom? You are free. Are you in jail? No. Are you being threatened with your life? No. You have a choice. You can go work anywhere else you want to.
Cole
the
Beasley.
NFL is not saying that you can't work anywhere. They're just saying you can't work for us. And they're actually not even saying that. They're saying if you don't get vaccinated and there's a problem, it's going to be on you. They're making it extremely difficult. They're not even actually saying that you can't play. So this idea that you're not free is nonsense. You are absolutely free. You just probably have to go work somewhere else if you don't want to get vaccinated.
Businesses have rights too, not just employers. So you can go bark on social. What about my rights? What about Delta Airlines rights?
You absolutely have a right. You have. It is absolutely your choice not to get vaccinated.
You do not have to fly Delta Airlines.
It's literally a choice. Do it or don't. But just because you have rights and you have freedoms does not mean you are free from consequences. It's the same conversation that people always have about freedom of speech when somebody says something crazy and gets fired. What happened to freedom of speech? Are they in jail? Did the government just show up at their house and seize their home? No. They're free to say that, but they're not free from consequences. The NFL is a billion-dollar organization that's not going to accommodate everyone who wants to make their own personal choices. They never have for many things. You can't go out there and play without a helmet. You can't use whatever kind of substance you want to get on the field.
By the way, you have to wear a seatbelt driving. You don't even in America, you don't have total personal freedom in your car.
You know what makes me so mad about this story is I made a personal decision not to talk to people about what they're doing with the vaccine. I'm vaccinated. If you don't want to get vaccinated, that's your choice. Just don't tell me about it because I have to only have intelligent people around me. And there's a good chance you're going to say something that's going to make me not be able to be cool with you anymore. And I would just prefer to remain ignorant to your personal choices.
Well,
and this forced me to have this conversation with people over and over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, I said before, you do have a right not to wear a mask on Delta Airlines, and you will not be able to fly it. And because it's the best airline in America, then you will fly an inferior airline or get in your
No, you can't
car.
fly any airline without a mask.
So get in your car and drive to Chicago from L.A. instead of fly.
Yeah.
You have a choice. Hitchhike. Drive your Tesla. Whatever you want to do.
You have a right to a road trip. So Aaron Rodgers is not the only Packer with an uncertain future in Green Bay. We are Milwaukee's finest
radio station. 97.5, Milwaukee's best rock right here.
So Davante Adams has reportedly broken off talks for a new contract with the Packers. Negotiations that have been ongoing, but both sides are said to be in a bad place, and there's no current plans on resuming talks. I don't know what that means.
I know what it means.
Training camp is next week. So the proposals reportedly didn't acknowledge Davante as the highest paid wide receiver. So I don't know. Davante came on our show in May and said that Aaron leaving Green Bay would possibly affect his future. He said we've established a lot together. It would change a lot. It doesn't mean I'd be gone, but I definitely have to do some extra thinking if my guy wasn't there.
If I'm Davante Adams and I'm at practice every day and I'm watching Jordan Love and I don't think he's the guy, then I'm not signing long-term either. Time out.
Not signing long-term, but also if I'm watching Jordan Love and he's not the guy, there's a potential that Aaron Rodgers is going to leave, and I'm going to sign a long-term contract and you're not going to make me the highest paid wide receiver. That's a no for me. All around.
God.
I have no guarantee that Aaron Rodgers is going to be the one throwing to me. I'm not going to be the highest paid wide receiver, and I don't know what Jordan Love is.
I don't even think it's the highest paid thing, because I think Davante's a smart kid that's good with his money.
But if I'm going to stay there with an inferior quarterback, which either way, even if Jordan Love is competent, he's not going to be Aaron Rodgers.
To me, wide receivers, quarterbacks make wide receivers. It doesn't matter how good you are as a wide receiver. If you go look at Larry Fitzgerald's career numbers, they're better when he had a better quarterback. When Warner was there, when Carson Palmer was there, they were better numbers. So you are very beholden